On this week's Audio Book Club, we spend some time with the Godfather of podcasting, Alan Partridge.
This is Audible.
I am Alan Partridge, and this is from the Oasthouse, Series 2, Episode 1. Episode 1.
Alan Partridge from the Oasthouse. Alan Partridge from the Oasthouse, from the Oasthouse. Alan Partridge from the Oasthouse with Alan Partridge.
Colin Dover, Nathaniel Grab, Vera Bishop, Trish Trotter, Dottie Garcia, Craig Hoop, Alvin Sambora, Eddie Sambora, Fliss Griggs, Tobias Saddleback, Mickey Malone, Ted Bigg, Tony Fathom, Father Gregory Beeston, and Rabbi Addy Schwartz. Just some of the people who've written to me demanding a second series of my podcast from the Oasthouse. And just in case you think I made those names up, get this, I only made one of them up, and it was Ted Bigg. That's right, Rabbi Addy Schwartz is real. We're regularly in touch, even though he lives 3,000 miles away in America. He's one of the few Jews who listen to the podcast, which is strange because I loathe anti-Semitism. I'm pro-Jew, peeps. Get used to it.
Hello, I'm Steve Phillips, and welcome to another episode of Audio Book Club, a podcast that is just popping over to the petrol station for a Cornish pasty and a can of Iron Brew. On this episode, we'll be reviewing From the Oasthouse, the Alan Partridge podcast series 2. Joining me down the line, as ever, from Adelaide, in Australia, it's Matt Layton. Hello, Matt.
Yeah, hello there, Steve.
So this is your first experience of Alan Partridge when podcasting, and you didn't really fancy reviewing this one last week.
No, I didn't. I think it's interesting that we've just played the theme tune. It sums it all up.
That's an exciting start to the podcast.
Well, it sums it all up, really, doesn't it? It's incredibly irritating. It's amateurish. It's cringeworthy, yet it's incredibly well put together, and I've been singing it for the last week.
Yes, so there's two things to that. So firstly, there's an earworm already. And secondly, this is very East Anglian, this style of music. This type of music is very East Anglian and old kind of Norfolk kind of music. This is the kind of, thing they played.
It is a folk music, a type of folk music that you would associate with an Oasthouse, which for those who don't know is one of those things when you're in Kent or the east of England, and you see a pointy-topped building at the back of somebody's house. That's where they used to do the oasting. I don't know what they're for. They're for storing grain, aren't they? I
think something like that. But it's. I thought it was just unique to Kent, but
I did too.
We're getting a bit parochial here, for the global listener. It doesn't, why should they care?
Bring it back.
Why should they care? It's not.
Bring it back, Steve. So, all right, this has been a challenging week, Steve. I have to say, I'm very glad, though, you nominated a short audiobook.
Oh,
So normally I try and listen to things twice, and when you're getting on a 13-hour book, that's, quite a substantial percentage of the week gone. But this week I feel like I'm on holiday. This week I ought to be on holiday. 4 hours is nice, and I really appreciated the time around that, and I've got some nice any other business stuff lined up, but the spare time I had. But I'm also a man terribly disappointed this week. It's the first week of the school holidays, and on Monday, Marissa and the girls left to go camping.
Right.
And I was thinking, great, I'm going to get all the laundry done, I'm going to tidy up the house, I'm going to catch up with the backlog of social media posts for Audio Book Club. 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, I get a text message saying, "We're coming home." Apparently a once-in-a-lifetime storm event.
You'll never guess what happened.
Blew away.
Yeah, once in a lifetime. Were they Moretta's exact words? You'll never guess what's happened. A once in a lifetime storm event.
No. Her exact words were, "We're coming home." The tent collapsed at 4 o'clock in the morning. The friends that they went with have an expensive camping trailer that broke in the wind, and people aren't telling me what happened with the toilet in the camping trailer, but I gather it wasn't good. No. So I have many...
You should never talk about the toilet in the camping trailer under those circumstances. Not the right thing to say in polite conversation.
So I haven't had
We
quite...
all know.
Yeah, so I feel very fortunate that this is the week where you gave me a short book to listen to, because basically Narrator came home with a stinking cold from this weather event, 3.5 hours drive in each direction, 8 hours of cleaning up, possibly something to do with the toilet. She retired to bed. The girls had their friends round, and it's been like kind of Lord of the Flies round here. And I barricaded myself in the library. So I'm not having the week I expected, but fortunately it's the week of a short audiobook, Steve, which I'm very grateful for.
Yes, it's the least I could do.
All right. Shall we play clip 2?
Yes.
And guess what? You may have missed the podcast. Well, I've missed my podcast too. I've been itching for ages to step back into the fray and just podcast again. Because, let's not forget, in the world of podcasting, I matter. Back in 2020, people hadn't really heard of podcasting. Most people thought it was something done by anglers or the name of a sex act. But then came coronavirus 19. And wherever you think it started, in an evil lab in China or a bat meat market in China, the subsequent lockdown spawned a tsunami of podcasts, and I found myself surfing the crest of that tsunami, helping the genre to flourish where other techno fads like Betamax or solar panels had failed. That was a couple of years ago. Since I've been away, podcasting has lost its edge. It's largely posh Guardian journalists who shorten their names to 3-letter ones like Ben, Dan, Sam, Tom and Tim. Or the true crime genre limping along, even though all the decent crimes have been done. Now it's just a killer in Scotland who's only strangled about 3 women.
Okay, so that is Alan Partridge in action. Alan Partridge has been around since the early 90s. He is the creation of Steve Coogan. I find it very interesting that my children have recently started using the word cringe as an adjective, mainly to describe me. There's a certain amount of the dad jokes in what he says. He's smarmy, he's a bit of a misogynist, occasionally homophobic, a little bit racist. He started as the sports presenter on the Day-to-Day, and went on to do a chat show, Knowing Me, Knowing You. He is, of course, a character. He is the creation of Steve Coogan. Steve, what do you know of Steve Coogan?
I've grown up with Alan Partridge, and I remember when I was a kid, and this may sort of put me in, and you can probably gather what sort of kid I was, but I was really into, media from a really early age, and, it just fascinated me how TV was put together, how radio was put together. And so you end up watching a lot of telly when I should have been doing my homework or maybe doing something constructive with my childhood. But I just, you sort of looked at things like sports presenters and so on. I just thought sports presenters, and it's around time Spitting Image and so on, where everyone was being lampooned. And you just thought sports presenters is sort of an area that hasn't really been sent up, because it's easy to maybe cliche, some of the 80s sports presenters and the turn of phrases and the way it was presented and so on. I thought, I really hope someone comes along and does this. And then Alan Partridge turns up in 1991, 92 with On the Hour on Radio 4. And then it became the Day-to-Day on BBC 2. And it was just the best. I mean, even like the sports reports during the Day-to-Day, naming the different race horses like Zainab Badawi's 20 Hotels or Santa's Boyfriend. It was so funny.
It's almost a traditional career arc, isn't it? It's like, so Partridge is a character. He started off in radio, and then he got to do bulletins on the television, and then he got a chat show on the television. There is a bit where Steve Coogan, I think, has for a long time had a view of wanting Alan Partridge to be around for ages. And he's gone through all these iterations, and, he became he got booted out of primetime television at the BBC, went back down to local radio. Now he's been booted out of local radio and has gone to podcasts. There's almost, they've built sort of a career arc story for him, haven't they?
It's a tale of peaks and troughs with Alan Partridge. And, he was on the local radio station Norfolk Digital, featuring his own movie, Alpha Papa. And then the BBC picked him up again recently for kind of like a one-show kind of daily magazine type send-up called This Time. At the same time, he launched this podcast on Audible. The first series is twice as long as this one, by the way. And towards the end, he actually mentions this is the first tranche of series 2. I really love the way he's very open with his talk when he talks about Audible, and he talks to them about saying they insist it's going to be called series 3, but it's actually, to my mind, it's tranche 2. What I really love about Steve Coogan and what he's done with Alan Partridge is probably the cleverest character around these days. I think when you've got an age at the moment where media, especially the news media, is very polarized. Opinionated media is very polarized. Twitter is very polarized. And Alan Partridge seems to be the only character that kind of cuts through, because everything he said would not be acceptable if it was a serious program, if it was a factual program. But the fact it's a comedy program, this is where comedy actually is such an important tool in the armory of discourse. I don't know, that he really kind of typifies. You know what he's saying is bad, but you don't take it seriously because he is being funny. It's a comedic thing.
I want to repeat that everything he says is unacceptable. That would be the banner headline on the poster for the movie for me.
Yeah.
All right. So look, we've explored Alan Partridge. Let's quickly do Steve Coogan, his creator. This book, the podcast is listed as being written by Alan Partridge, but of course Steve Coogan is the real force behind it. He is one of Britain's best known comedians and comedy actors. In a wide audience, he played Stan Laurel in Stan and Ollie a couple of years ago, so he's made it out of here into Hollywood. I seem to remember him in a Dr. Dolittle film, but I can't find it, so I can't remember what that is. Any help there, Steve?
He did do, I don't know if you're confusing that with maybe Around the World in 80 Days, because he did do a version of that.
Yes.
That's the one.
I am indeed. And did that tank, or was it all right?
It wasn't earth-shattering in terms of impact on the human population.
Yeah, because there have been bits in his career where he's looked like threatening Hollywood. He looks like someone who may come out of the UK arena and become a global star. He's never quite done it. Would be a terrible thing to say. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong. Because in 2013, he wrote Philomena, and he has been nominated for 2 Oscars, which obviously isn't bad going. And in my house, he's best known as Silas Ramsbottom, who is a character in the Minions films. So, again, I don't think he's troubled the Hollywood A-list in the way that he might have wanted to.
However, I would say, and I don't mean to come across as a massive cheerleader for Steve Coogan, by the way, but some of his there's a film called A Cock and Bull Story, which is based on the life of Tristram Shandy, this kind of sort of fantasist kind of guy, with him and Rob Brydon in. I really recommend that. Also, he was in a very funny TV movie called Cruise of the Gods, which never gets shown on TV anymore, ever. But it's one of the funniest things because it's basically about a fan cruise, and had an early debut for James Corden in that as well, back from a long time ago, based on I think it was based on like a pastiche of Blake Seven, the old sci-fi show, which was very good, by the way, but kind of obviously because it was made by the BBC in the 70s, it was always about the wobbly sets and all that sort of thing. But it's kind of based on a show around that. Really recommend that if you haven't seen it already.
Okay, so I think we've possibly set up how we feel about this here, because I've tried to do research and written a list, and you are bubbling and full of references and who Steve Coogan is and what he's been up to. It's fair to say you're a fan, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah, I hadn't realised until about 15 minutes ago when we started talking how much of a fan I was, because I just suddenly thought, oh, hang on, I know this, I should say this. And, oh no, hang on, you got to mention Neil and Rob Gibbon as the writing, but and I was like thinking, oh my God, I really know way too much here. So yes, it looks like I'm a fan.
And I come to this from the opposite point of view, in that there are certain types of comedy that I find it very difficult to watch. And as I say, the word cringe comes into it. He is someone who worked at the BBC in the 1990s. Then he was a failed local radio presenter. And then he's gone to podcasting. I'm not sure if I'm describing Alan Partridge or myself there, Steve.
Not at all. Have you started podcasting then?
It's a little close to the bone, to be honest.
I know.
It is brilliantly written. And then I found myself writing in my notes, as a person who likes to, who has to write comedy occasionally, and I went, oh no, I'm being him. I'm doing it. I find it so awkward to watch The Office. Actually, and this.
You and I.
Yeah.
You and I have done travel news reports, and I used to do traffic news reports for Radio Norfolk at 5:30 in the morning, around the time that Alan Partridge was on. And I understand that the presenter who I did this for at the time said that Alan Partridge was based on him. I don't think he was. I think it was just a coincidence. He was on the same time slot, and I think that might have been the link, because I don't think he was too different, to be honest.
No, it's Gary Richardson from the Today programme. That's who I say it is. Here's Gary with the sport. It's definitely a obnoxious, smarmy person.
That's okay.
But Coogan has never said. He's always said it's based on someone.
Gary's on next week, by the way.
He's always just a brass button blazer. People who hang around sports but can't play sports. They irritate me. Which both Partridge is and Gary Richardson is as well. As someone who tries to write funny things occasionally, this is incredibly well written and incredibly well produced. It is so dense. It captures, it's very much of the now, it's of this time. There are lots of references to people who are in the media currently. I like the bit where he says that David Gandhi life on a Mahatma Gandhi budget was one of my favourite lines in the whole thing. There seems to be made up friendships as well with Grant Shapps and Kirsty Allsop, which make me laugh tremendously. And if you don't know who those people are, don't worry about it, gloss over it. My favourite part, I have to say, was the ad for, well, basically, the rubbish ads in podcasts. The ones where they go, hi, I'm the host of this podcast, but I'm just going to take a second to tell you about this product.
Oh, by the way, guys, if you're like me, you lead a busy life and you want good, fuss-free food that doesn't cost the earth, why not try Meal Maker? I tried one of its recipe boxes recently, and I have to say I was blown away by how fresh and tasty and bloody simple it was. You just sign up for a week, choose your meals from a range of 15 delicious recipes, and hey presto, you get a sealed box full of sustainable sourced chilled ingredients delivered to your door, fresh veg, superb meat, great big portions. And as for cooking, it really was child's play. I'm not the most competent cook. I get hot and flustered and sulky when things go wrong, but with step-by-step instructions written by someone who speaks English as a first language and colour pictures, it was hard to go wrong. I had a couple of friends around to watch Strictly, so I went for the vegetable lasagna. Cooking time was 1 hour 20, and though it took me double that because I wanted to get it right, we ended up enjoying mouthfuls of deliciously cheesy pasta long before the final dance. Did it come out exactly like the picture? No, mine was much flatter and browner, but I definitely eat it again, although next time I just pop it in a blender and add egg. I'm not giving you the hard sell, but if you want to make a meal without making a meal of it, try Meal Maker. And if you sign up with the discount code Oasthouse1, you get 10% off your first order, and it works out nicely for me as well. Meal Maker, making a meal without making a meal of it. I said that bit already, but they wanted me to say it right at the end as well, which I've now done.
We should do one of those. We should make something up.
We're not successful enough to do one of those.
Exactly the reason why we should just make up our own.
Alan Partridge, a fictional fail. Look, if you do fancy that, then please use the code Audiobook Club 1.
Occasionally, I do write comedy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll give it a go. Obviously, I won't give it a go. What's the point? We'll improvise.
So look, let's round up on the narrator and the production. Actually, it's weird to be able to talk about the production. The last few weeks, we've been just talking about narrators, and our definition has been whether it is narrated or performed. The interesting thing with this is it ends with a lot. There's a story. There's a pratfall that's being set up all the way along, and it ends in a large fire. And in order to record in a studio, someone rushing out of a car towards a fire is actually quite a difficult operation to do. So while this sounds like it's slapdash and amateurish, like most of slapstick type comedy, you have to put in a lot of work in advance to make it that good. I still am uncomfortable with the book. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't want to have to do it again. Steve, you differ from me on that one, don't you?
Well, here's the timeline of the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we did Colditz last week, and I used, because of the nature of Colditz and the story, amazing as it was written, and we obviously see previous episode for our review of that one. But I started this one early because I needed a bit of a holiday.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, so and I know out of any comedian, any comic material, funny material these days, for me anyway, because Alan Partridge is such a layered character. It's so well observed. The writers and every time you see Steve Coogan being interviewed about Alan Partridge post his sort of Armando Iannucci days, it's always about Neil and Rob Gibbons, and basically they brought the character back to life with these sort of Foster's Funny YouTube shows where he did Mid-Morning Matters from this sort of temporary pop-up radio station set, and it was the funniest. You just actually they literally mined like a new seam of his character, if you know what I mean. Like, it was a deeper, much more rounded character. Obviously, they've done a lot of work to make him relevant to today, but in a very, very funny way.
The character has aged as well, hasn't he? So
yeah.
there is. He's now a grandfather, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've constructed this life, which I can't help but admire. But here is my problem, Steve.
Go on.
Since I've started reading audiobooks a couple of years ago, whodunits has been one of my favourite genres, and occasionally you get an interview after the book. Dorothy L. Sayers, who wrote the Adam Dalgleish books, here, she said, it's important to like your main character. If you're going to be spending time with them, and she meant as an author, but I think I find this as a listener as well. She pointed out that Agatha Christie didn't really like Poirot, but was saddled with him for a number of years. And I just have that kind of feeling about Alan Partridge. I can sit here and I could admire the writing. I can admire the production. As I say, the spoof infomercial part in particular just blew my mind, because it was an experiment in form that also was incredibly satirical, you know, in a minute, you know. Hello, everyone. The whole thing is brilliant. But fundamentally, I don't like Alan Partridge and didn't want to spend 4 hours with him.
This is what I love about it, because he's now doing a podcast. It's and there's so many, because podcasting, it's been around for years now, but the way it's produced now, like you say, with these adverts, the adverts presented by the same presenters who you're listening to the podcast from are suddenly, weirdly, introducing themselves again for 30 seconds to advertise something. And then he'll dip in. So Partridge does this. He'll dip in. He'll be talking. He'll be doing his chat and his monologue about the situation in the podcast. And then suddenly a jingle will pop and go, "Hello, Alan Partridge here." And it's just like, we know that.
Bill Maher does that as well. It's like he does it. It happens on one of the podcasts that I happen to listen to on a weekly basis, and it drives me up the wall. I think it's because in American radio, that is how things have been done for a while, and what they're selling is the trust that the presenter brings, and that sincerity. And of course, to me, as soon as you introduce yourself again, it totally undermines it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does completely.
It undermines all that trust that they have sold to the people doing the advertising.
Yeah. Still,
at the same time, there is potential money in affiliate marketing, Steve. We should look into it.
Yeah, I agree. We should absolutely sell our soul. After all of this, we'll completely do it. We're very, very, please know this, anyone out there who does want to advertise with us, you know, eventually at some point when we have 2 listeners, we are very cheap, very cheap. I should say, actually, have we concluded on the narration / performance?
I think we have. I think we concluded on the book. You like it. I admire it, but I'm glad I listened to it. But I shan't be rushing back to get season 1.
Oh, you are missing out. Well, I tell you what. I mean, this is, and I appreciate you.
Unless you buy it for me as a bloody present, which is the normal way you get to do things, because then I'm obliged to be grateful for your hospitality.
Yeah, prey on your guilt. So this is actually, we've broken cover here because it's not strictly an audiobook, is it? I mean, it's not an audiobook at all. This is an audio performance, really, isn't it? It's a podcast essentially that you pay for.
It's a piece of theatre that's a spoof podcast, and it's interesting that you can get it elsewhere on Audible for free, but as a collected 4 hours worth, you can spend your money to buy the collected works of something you can get without paying any extra somewhere else. And people like that kind of thing. People have books of scripts, don't they, Steve?
Yeah, I do. Yes, they do. They do.
Yes.
They do. So I think, should we start? We'll occasionally, we'll very, very subtly, not unambiguous, we'll very subtly drop in some of the things that these podcasts these days just drop in there. We won't sort of make a big deal of it. But hello, I'm Steve Phillips, and now to the any other business section of the podcast. All right.
Yeah, I do have so the extra time.
Yeah.
That you gave me this week, I just wanted to take that time in the podcast to say, look, we recommend audiobooks. When we recommend an audiobook, and as in this case, at least one of us thinks it's worth spending £7, $15 of your hard-earned and devoting a certain number of hours to your time. We do not recommend everything we read. And I've read a couple recently where they have been not something I'm prepared to bring on here. They're things that they'll be all right. They'll do well without me. Robert Galbraith, The Ink Black Heart, goes on for 32 hours and 43 minutes.
Wow.
It is the fourth. Robert Galbraith, of course, is, do you know, Steve?
The pen name for J.K. Rowling.
Correct. And her detective strike. And a lot of the book is written in the format of an internet chat room. And that does not translate well into an audiobook. Here's a little clip.
In-game chats between 6 of the 8 moderators of Drek's game. Moderator channel, 9th of April 2015, 1932. Present, Hartella, Fiendy 1, Worm 28. Hartella, has Lord Drek been in? Fiendy 1, haven't seen him, why? Hartella, just wondered. Fiendy 1, enemy still not letting anyone new in? Hartella, no. Morehouse has joined the channel.
That is intolerable. Even though it's Robert Glenister reading it out, that is intolerable for for the amount of time it demands you listen to it. Stephen King's Fairy Tale, 24 hours and 6 minutes long. If you're a fan, go for it. But it's a bit too.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
He writes the bits where he writes at the beginning of the book and sets up the real world are brilliant, but then he should stop the book there and not go off into some sort of weird modernized version of the Land of Oz. I could have done without it. Are you saying that satisfied?
Are you saying that Stephen King beautifully sets up the scenery and the circumstances? And it says a person in a big white sheet suddenly appeared.
But it's worse. It's like, this is like the fairy tales you remember, but it's not that one. Listen, I've really got to go. It's 8:29. Weirdly, I've got to go off and interview some blind fashion designers.
You're a busy man. You are a busy man.
Very busy man. Should we do what's coming next and bring it to a conclusion?
Definitely. So, if our listener wishes to play along, what should we be all listening to next time, Mr. L?
Well, it's one of the biggest audiobook events of the year. It is the third installment of Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, as adapted by the greatest radio producer in the world, podcast producer, audiobook producer, radio producer in the whole world, Dirk Maggs, a former guest on this show. You can watch our interview with him on the front of the website at audiobookclub.net. We recommend these. We love these. The production is sumptuous. I've already started listening. A cast led by James McAvoy. Are you looking forward to getting stuck into that, Steve?
Are you kidding me? Oh man, Archie's got. It's just another movie. It's the third movie in the trilogy.
The third movie in your head in the trilogy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was from the Oasthouse Series 2 by Alan Partridge, length at 4 hours 15 minutes. Released just last week, 22nd of September. Go listen. That's it for us. We'll see you next time.
With the state of today's economy, it's more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made from the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back in your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality, made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with code STAPLE20.